There have been battles over the basic principles that guide the work of translation and battles over individual words. Those who wanted a translation cast in a higher level of English and more faithful to the original Latin won the war. Make no mistake about it, the New Missal is not a word-for-word translation of the Latin. Such a translation would sound much too much like a foreigner speaking broken English. Any workable translation is a compromise between fidelity to the original and the requirements of English grammar. In places, the new one captures the color, the riches of the Latin in good English, and in other places it fails in terms of intelligibility. Criticism of the new translation has already begun, and I am sure that 40 or 50 years down the road we will have a new translation. Those of you who speak a second language, whether it be Spanish, French, Tagalog, Croatian, understand that it is impossible to produce a word-for-word translation. Languages are not just interchangeable lists of words, they are vehicles that convey the worldview of a people. Each of them has a color and a feeling all its own. The best any translator can do is to approximate what was said in one language in another. There is an interesting double example of this principle in the text of Mass. The Sanctus, what we call the Holy, 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 begins with a Latin translation of the Hebrew text from the 6th chapter of the book of Isaiah. Sanctus, 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 Dominus Deus Sabaoth. It's easy to translate the first 5 words into English. They are Holy, Holy, Holy Lord God. The 6th word, however, is problematic. It is Sabaoth, which is transliterated Hebrew. It refers to the legions of angels that surround the throne of God, but it has no exact parable in Latin or in English. Those who made the original Latin translation treated it as a technical term and left it in Hebrew. The current English version renders it as power and might in an attempt to convey the idea of what the angel armies represent. The New English translation has hosts for Sabaoth. The term host is not in common use. It's an older English word which means armies, but it better conveys the idea of the legions of angels to whom we unite ourselves as we begin the Eucharistic prayer. It is not, however, a literal translation of the Latin. If we wanted a completely literal translation, we would have to say, Holy, 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 Lord God of Sabaoth, which would not mean much to an English-speaking congregation. The point I am making is that every translation is an attempt by an individual or a committee to make what is said in one language intelligible in another language. Some translations are better than others, but none of them are perfect. The Vatican Congregation for Divine Worship and the Discipline of the Sacraments, after extensive consultation with the English-speaking bishops of the world, has chosen the translation that will be introduced on November 7th as the one that best conveys the meaning of the official Latin text, and therefore is the one that best maintains the unity of the Roman Rite. The important thing for us is not to engage in scholarly debate about each word and phrase, but to receive the new translation with an open mind and to put it into practice.